So now I'm going to roast some of these beautiful capsicums. I always love to keep this bag because when you pull your tulips or your daffodils out of the ground, you want to store them somewhere. So we store them in a bag like this in the garage until just before planting time. We put them into the fridge. So I always keep that. I'm just going to rinse these and then pop them in. Wash those up just to, if there's any insecticides or pesticides or any little nasties. These are going to go into the oven at about 200 degrees and we'll leave them in there for about 30 minutes. And they should be all nice, a little bit burnt, a little bit soft, and then we will turn them into something beautiful to plate up with our lamb. And this is what we have been looking for. Now these are really hot, so we have to be super careful. And I get really impatient and I want these to happen overnight, but we really need to let them just do their own thing. But if you see that now, how that just peels off. And that is just a gorgeous little piece underneath. But more importantly, one of the best things to do pop a little cling wrap over the top of this. When it cools down, even just a little bit, we will be able to slide those skins off, and all the liquor that comes out from the inside of these capsicums will make a beautiful little sauce for it to lay in for the next few days. We will add some basil and some garlic and maybe even some parsley and some salt and pepper. But really just the liquor that itself creates when it steams inside the capsicum itself or the pepper in the oven is enough to keep a beautiful little liquor around it. So we will steam those for just a few minutes and come back and see what we can do with those. So you can see here I've taken the plastic wrap off, and now these are still really quite hot, so you have to be quite careful. In fact, a lot of people recommend that you put gloves on. But my hands are washed and I am ready to go. So what I really like to do is use a couple of these. So I will scoop him out. And all of this will just gently peel off, like you can see that, leaving this beautiful charred pieces. Let's have a look at, I think we can layer that up in here. And what I find is naturally goes into long strands. So we just carefully you might get a little bit of the charred skin just attached to it still, a little bit caught on it. That is completely fine. That will add a lot of flavor. Have no problem leaving those little pieces there. What you don't want are the seeds, because they are going to just add a bit of bitterness. So you want to just avoid the seeds, but they tend to sink to the bottom anyway, so it's not a major problem. So So we just pull all that off. This is what you don't want. You really don't want the icky little bit around the neck of the pepper or the capsicum. And see how it just shreds into nice thin pieces. You can do it really thin. If you are patient enough to wait until these are completely cool, you would be surprised at how easily they. So this one, look, you can see now is like completely skinned. And I'll just take that out of there. Maybe when they're a bit cooler, then I will shred them a little bit thinner, because we're going to be placing this. See, that little part there is the equivalent of the white on the inside of your capsicum. We don't want that. I mean, if you're working with one capsicum and you don't want to lose any of the flesh, but we've got half a dozen here, so we are fine. So what you can see here now is all that liquor, and none of that is oil, but it is the viscosity of oil in a way. It definitely isn't overly runny. It's a little bit like a soft honey. And so with that, we can just drizzle that over the. If you really want to preserve this for a few days, then you could add quite a bit of oil to this mixture. I am not going to do that. I am going to leave that to just sit in its own juices there. I'm not going to add any salt and pepper either at this time, because that just will be perfect on its own. Might add a little bit of salt and pepper tomorrow when we go to serve it with the beef, with the lamb, I should say. So I'm going to pop the lid on that, and you can see there, how beautiful is that? Now, if you put through tomorrow, we dress it up. We'll put some garlic and we'll put some herbs and we'll put some salt and pepper, and we will eat that. Otherwise, you can just have that on its own over some toast. You can whiz that up with some cashews and some other little pieces to make a beautiful little dip too, if you like. That will go into the fridge.